Right, there we go. So they are the battle maps that we played. What we're going to next is the best in bracket. So what we'll do is we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. The reason we do best in bracket is I said this in the last one we done is because we always get a top three, but the top three have some very good players there who've been playing for a long time and can make things work. There's a lot of interesting ideas that come up in lower lists and that just need a bit of refinement and stuff like that. So that's why we look at these to see what's out there. The first one, oh, that's actually a screen instead. The first one we're looking at is Joshua Boxall, who came away with one draw, but took a Seraphon list, which is something we're more regularly see, at least when it first came out, to be top everywhere, thanks to the mortal wound bombs. So, Magic heavy list, Lord Croak, Slan, Star Master, a lot of other skink priests, and then lots of ender spells and skinks. Not what I expected to see as a unit of triple reinforced skinks. But there we go. Um, Before I start yabbering on, does anyone have any thoughts on this list? What we're seeing here?
Um, yeah, I mean, I played Seraphon for a little bit,
Hmm.
and I played a Starborn list, and I played something very similar, just a little bit different. I didn't have so many skinks. I had a couple units of them, and then I had a Bastillodon. Um, so the list is literally just spell casting, go crazy, and then you get your points, and then you can summon, or you can then beam mortal wounds at people with your nodes. If you're within 12 of a node, then which are all your heroes, and your terrain piece, you can just beam mortal wounds at people. So it's literally just cast spells, go mental, and screen and castle. I think. Again, I'm not completely like knowledgeable about it to that extent. They got some teleporting, but it's just spell casting and screens, which I think they lack a bit of a punch or something to help them deter the charge. You know, I think we spoke about it briefly, and I think it's something you're keen to talk about as well, Mike. But the 270 points of skinks in one screen is a little bit. I don't know. I
It's
think
an overinvestment, probably.
a Bastillodon definitely, or something else could probably fit in a bit better there, just to give you a bit of the counter punch. Because
Mm.
you do have a good setup here with good screen, like a really nice amount of screens, and you can probably like slowly advance up the board with the screens. But then if they break into you, which they're going to do because skinks just die, you have nothing to hit back with. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that reinforced skinks, and I've noticed that one of the priests have got Hoarfrost on it. So maybe they were thinking that they were screening with the units of 10 to
Yeah.
then put Hoarfrost on the 30. They can fight in two ranks. Maybe it's the get it off and then throw what would potentially be a pretty rubbish unit, but with, let's say, Ren 3. But there's a lot of what ifs along that way.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, there's a lot of what ifs along the way. So,
and
and also, I've noticed that they've got the cogs now. The cogs have been changed recently in the handbook, and before it was like you could re-roll magic if you're within range, but that's no longer the case. You can re-roll charges. I'm trying to look at what's actually charging in that list, and maybe you re-roll in charges of skinks, which are all pumped up on Hoarfrost. Um, or the other, how it's been changed is that the priests get to roll for an arcane bolt. It does that if you're within 6 inches or something along those lines. So I don't know. Maybe that's what the plan was behind that. I get it because I've done. I mean, we've seen similar things with people putting Hoarfrost on Spirit Hosts, which you mentioned in one of your videos, Mike. If it works, awesome. But it's the big if, I think.
yeah, I think this list might also be a victim of the change in meta. It's like when this JB came out, there was it was a magic meta. Now we have definitely moved into anti-magic with Corn, OBR. A lot of people now know how to kind of play around it, and there's a lot of investment in magic and screens. And yeah, I'm sure throwing Hoarfrost on, but I think a lot of people know kind of what to do about that now. Keep your guys outside of 12. Having 3 inch, sorry, 3 inch, 3 Ren Skinks will be great. If you roll a
Mm.
one, you now have skinks that hit on a 1 or a 2 or a wound on that, and it starts to lose its punch. And I think you said quite rightly is that there's a lot of what ifs. Like, if I can get this,
Yeah.
if I can get this, I can get this. Now, I have no doubt that a Seraphon player, that is it's not just on guesswork. You have your buffs, you have your way of confirming magic, but now people know if I've got 4 primal dice and you've got 4 primal dice, you have to split those primal dice over 6, however many spells. And if you've got Blizzard there, I'm betting a couple are going there. So now Hoarfrost comes, I'll get rid of Hoarfrost. I can suck up the 3 mortal wounds from other stuff,
Yeah.
But I do think, yeah, you're probably right. The Hoarfrost is about getting some jacked up skinks to then start nailing stuff. But yeah, I think it's just, for me, this might be a victim of the changing meta, and as people are becoming more able to deal with magic, and as Bob has said, it's like super able to fill up the board with summons. When you have a castle army, you have to be expecting people to come to meet you, and that might not leave you enough space to bring those summons out, or it might be too late to start bringing it out.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
think
so yeah,
I definitely do see like I'm now that I've like looked kind of coherently at the list, it is actually quite coherent, the list itself. You're going to Hoarfrost those skinks. You're going to use your Star Seers to give a load of stuff wards of 5 for the turn, so you can brace like when they try and break into your screens. And then you ping a million mortal wounds back at them with Blizzard, and then obviously all your War Scroll spells. And then if you wanted to as well, you could use your sub faction ability on the table where you spend points to then do mortal wounds as well. So it is basically just like a come into me, and then I'm going to ping, like I'm going to just blow up everything that came near me. But yeah, as you said, completely, like we've got so many primal dice now. Like Blizzard is the most terrifying spell, so they have to invest so much into getting it off, and you can just try to unbind it. So and you've got primal dice as well. I mean, obviously they've got the acolytes, so they do have extra primals as well, probably. So I do see what the list was trying to do. I think it also just probably struggles to move around a bit as well. You can TP guys around the board and then summon off of them, but the big cohesive unit itself moves slowly. They all move together. So at least I'd assume. Again, I'm just talking from a speculation because I didn't play it and I didn't see it played much. So
yeah, I think you're right. It is. This isn't with one draw because it's a not thought through list. It's a very thought through list, but there's a lot. And we just went through the mats, and we see there's mats that require a lot of movement, a lot of adjustment, a lot of where bot casting is maybe not the best approach to those mats. What's it called? The second one with the frost, you don't really want to be casted in too much because the other person can do that. But yeah, there's like all Seraphon lists are scary. And yeah, Soul, as you say, Soul Speed Bridge, Skinks, Charge. They're Rend 3. Like you're getting something through that. Yeah. Any last thoughts on this before we look at the next list?
I think my last thought would just be I actually really like the list. I think it looks quite interesting. If you like just like spamming spells and just like
Yeah.
sitting in a corner, just having fireworks going crazy, it looks quite fun. So I really would say it does look quite interesting. I just think, yeah, I'd probably slap a Bastillodon in there to some extent or something.
Yeah.
I think I've clocked something. That speed of Huanchi.
Punchy, yeah.
Yeah. Does that mean that they can make a normal move when the spell's cast? So they can move so that Skinks then have the spell done so they move even closer with Hoarfrost, fighting in 2 ranks, 30 of them, but still the big what ifs.
Yeah. But they don't move very far. They move 8 inches, so they can move 16, and then they can charge. So yeah.
Most maps that means a turn 1 a 4-inch charge, moving 16. Oh, a 2-inch charge. Well, 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is I think you're right in that. I think this is a list. If you're into that stuff, this is probably a lot of fun to play because when it hits, it hits hard. And we've all got lists like that.
Yeah.
Where it's at one moment everything converges and it's just beauty. It's like, oh my god, everything worked. I feel like a genius. And yeah, as I say, I think this is just a victim of the meta and the maps rather than anything else. see, before when we were speaking beforehand, I did mention the skinks, and as someone who runs blocks of clan rats, so I was saying MSU might be a way forward because you don't hemorrhage as much. Like with battle shock coming, there's a lot of ways of stopping people having it. You get hit by 15 wounds you get hit with 15 damage on a 10 wound unit. You're only losing 10. So that was my always plan with MSU. This clan rats, like if you kill them, great. Let's fucking 20. You can do 50 damage to them. It's all the same. But I think
Yeah.
you're right with Bastillodon. Archosotek is much more consistent in the damage it puts out, and you could still
Yeah.
Hoarfrost skinks. Like a 10 skinks with -3 rend is still a lot of damage that could come through. But these are questions for a Seraphon player to ask. So I will say, if you are a Seraphon player who is watching this or ends up watching it, do stick a comment below to tell us what you'll do with this list, or I don't know, play the algorithm and press like and subscribe and do all those things. That's what YouTubers say. I've learned it. I've practiced all weekend. Right. On to our first one win. I think it was 1 win and 1 draw, which was a Nighthaunt army. And we have a Nighthaunt player right above me and right below Bean. That's where he likes to be. Good double sex joke. Ben, do you want to walk us through what we see here?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of these lists which I've always been tempted by, bringing in a big ally which can put out damage, because Nighthaunt, they're not particularly very punchy. It's more the strengths in numbers. So having Big Drog Fort Kicker, it's been tempting. I've seen some great people try it before, actually. Still yet. I might try it one day. I might just bring a base and go, yeah, it's one of these, and let's see how it goes. But I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes of the rest of the army. Spirit Torment's great for 120 points, bringing back 3 Rasps or Reapers. I imagine that what they did was probably put it on the Reapers because they're a lot more punchier than the Chain Rasps, and they've got a better save, so you want numbers there. The command trait ruler of the Spirit Host, great if you can get a 4+, so when the blob of 20 Reapers die and you roll a 4+, you get 10 of them back. That's great. That's 150 points of units back. The Guardian of Souls, great character. He's our only Locust in the army, so with the Midnight Tome, which is the auto cast of an endless spell, which is great for the General Handbook battle tactic for the magical dominance, because it can't be dispelled, so you may as well pump that out. There's 2 points towards a battle tactic. It took the spell Hoarfrost. I did the same. Always tempted to put Shade Mist on instead. I'm probably going to revisit and put Shade Mist on after this tournament. I did have it go off. Shade Mist on a blob of 20 Reapers, and it minced. I got a 6 on it, so I had a unit of Reapers which were hitting on 3s and 2s, 3 attacks each with rend 3. It just deleted stuff. So I get the idea, but I've had times where it hasn't. The Night Shrouds on Ethereal Steed, 12-inch move, brilliant. It's got the artifact, the Harvest Moon, which when popped, if you're near a group of like any Nighthaunt unit within 12 inches, it gets an extra attack. I had that go off with Kurdos in range, so Kurdos had 6 attacks, hitting on 2s and 2s, 3 rend, 3 damage, did 18 damage when that. Yeah, that was quite a nice moment. Loads of Rasps. I get Rasps for holding objectives, perhaps deep striking, perhaps creating a screen so you could move up. I've got loads of Rasps. I love them. They're undervalued, but at the same time, I think for 30 of those Rasps, you could have had 20 Reapers. That's what I'm currently running because they're fighting in 2 ranks, and they've actually got rend. Mirrormorn Banshees, great for anti-magic. The only downside is that there are only 4 wounds in that, and if you get hit with something, then they can perish. Yeah. Black Coach, there for the battle tactic. Sadly, my Black Coach only managed to do that once because everyone just shot it off the table. I love the Black Coach. Yeah. And the Endless Spell, the Reaper, I don't know how many points this is, but it's a Nighthaunt spell. quite similar to what's the pendulum? Is it the pendulum type
Yeah,
thing?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a
it's so
Nighthaunt version of that. So might give it a go. Maybe it's to pick up the points, but they needed to bring the endless spell for the midnight tome because I remember playing Bean. Do you remember when I bought the midnight tome and didn't bring an endless spell? And I was thinking, oh, I can cast Hoarfrost, and you're
Yeah,
like, no.
you auto cast Blizzard in my face, and then I was like, hold on a minute, this is dodgy. So I was like reading it, I was like, it's an endless spell. It's just I was like, but I felt so bad, but I was like,
No,
I'm not
no,
getting
no.
auto cast Blizzard in my face. Stop,
It
please
was,
don't.
it was better to do it in a friendly than a tournament where you
Yeah.
stuck in for 5 games. So no,
yeah.
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 Oh, there goes 2 points battle tactics every round. The Triumph, Bloodthirsty, great if they've got the points. Emerald Host is brilliant for chipping away at the little heroes at the back which don't want to play ball. Slayed a lot because I took Emerald Host myself. Brilliant. Grand
Explain what
Strategy.
Emerald Host is for those who don't know.
Sorry. Yeah. At the start, before you take the first turn, you roll a dice. A D3 plus 1 units can be selected, and at the end of each battle round, you roll a dice on a 2 plus. Those units take D3 mortal wounds, or D3 plus 1 if it's a monster. So if you're like me, you rolled 1 for 3 of your games. You get to pick 2 units. And I rolled a lot of ones with my curse, except on one game where it hit everything. So it's great. It's chip damage at the back, potential to do well. But when I look at that list, I think the Fort Kicker great, but you could find damage. I mean, I mentioned Kurdos, and Kurdos synergizes. I mean, there's a lot less wounds, but yeah, I would. I'll try it for a friendly. I wouldn't take the foot kicker to a tournament, but who knows? It hits hard.
What
Any
about you,
thoughts?
Ben?
I have no idea about Night. The only thing I know about Nighthaunt is I fucking hate him, and I hate 4-ups, and I don't hate. I like your son Ben, but I don't like him. So yeah.
Please
Just
give
for
context to
context.
this comment as opposed to
Yeah,
slagging a child off.
for context, me and Ben played a friendly game, and he brought his son, and his son only rolled 5s and 6s for the entire game, so I just couldn't do anything. So yeah,
True story. It was
yeah,
just like, oh my god.
yeah. But yeah, Nighthorn, I don't really have too much problem playing against them because I just think they are unfortunately just a little bit weak in the meta. And my army I have like those ensorcelled weapon Varanguards, so they mince through like anything with like Horde. So, but they can be a bitch to kill because the 4-ups is just swingy. Like you could do everything right and send everything in, and they could still roll a bunch of 4s. So for that reason, I don't like playing against them. But I think I think in general that they're just a little bit lower in the meta at the moment, so I sympathise because I just But yeah, other than that, I haven't not got much to say because I don't know a whole lot about them.
I think Ben, one thing you mentioned that is true, unfortunately for Nighthorn, is that the black coach has a big target on it. Like whenever I see that, I know I don't quite know what it does, but I know it does something. And it's like that kind of has to go. So last time, I think I committed all my Storm Fiends and all my Giselles into it. It's like that needs to go because that is scary. And there's a couple of models like that. We'll talk about one or two later. Some are harder to get rid of than others. But if you put Archeon down, well, he's 900 points. Of course, you're going to go for Archeon. He's half the army. But there are models. The Word God Prophet is an example of one that everyone knows, like, that has to go. And that can be a bit tough. And even with an F4 set, a 4-up, still a 4-up. It's like, I run a lot of battle line like Bloodwise and Juggernauts where 2-up is my base. You've got to get Ren 2 before I have a Nighthorn save. That's better than F12 because I can also get it down further. So that kind of difficulty that I think Nighthorn have, and I don't quite know how to balance. I think they should put the wounds up, personally. I think I like the F4 save, but make them tankier. Make it actually feel like an F4 save that is hard to get rid of. Which could be done by improving the healing. But that's like a whole other conversation, which we will do in the future because we will do a Nighthorn stream because both me and Ben love talking Nighthorn and teching Nighthorn. But yeah, I think one also great work on the Gargan, Tom, like Thomas, where we prefer being called. Um, I'll just guess. And yeah, Mormon Banshees again are an example of the anti-magic meta. A lot of ways of getting rid of spells that are about to hurt you. But yeah, a strong wind takes them out of the game. So that's a
They
bit of a
slap. Yeah,
yeah.
they
Oh
do
yeah,
slap, but
they're Ren
mm,
2 damage.
yep,
Yeah,
2 attacks.
yeah. I think what you say is right as well. The Grimghast Reapers, or as I have put here, the Grimghast Repairs, or even that spelled incorrectly. They're a bunch of ghostly mechanics who just fix the black coach up. But yeah, 2 years of those, I saw them. The damage they do is a lesson I'll never quite forget. Seeing how all my blood letters just get lifted up in one go and be like, huh. So they're pretty good there. Um, yeah, so a good list in a very difficult meta. And what I do like about this list it is a newer, maybe not a newer, but we've seen Gargants in Nighthaunt before, but there's still Tekken coming out of Nighthaunt about how do we get the best out of this army. We saw Nagash with the Nighthaunt F4 saves, although he doesn't get it. Mega Gargants. So I do like there's a lot of innovation in Nighthaunt lists that we're seeing, which is great for everybody. But yeah, I do miss Rend when I play them though. I know you've got a 4 up, but God, I miss
Yeah,
Rend.
I miss Rend as well. I have 3 Rends and I can't and I don't get it. So it's very sad.
So we're getting into the higher level. So best of 2 wins. This is actually one of our guys, Bean. You know
Mm,
this better than any of us do. So
Yeah,
do you want to talk us about your Big Ben Slanesh?
yeah, he's a prick. First of all, I don't like him, and if he's watching this, fuck you, Ben. No,
We're
he's
doomed.
one of my close mates, and yeah, he's a lovely guy. He's just a bit of a legend, really. He's very funny. But this is his little Slanesh list that he came up with himself, and he's been playing it for a while now. He took it to the LGT, and he took it to, and he's just been playing this for a while. I think he's slightly changed it a bit here and there, but the core foundation is still the same. It's basically that everything's quite like semi-scary. Like everything in the army is quite scary. Like there's nothing that isn't going to hurt you. Everything will hurt a little bit. The big standouts when I play against him is the 10 Slick Blade Seekers because there's 40 wounds. Even though they are very squishy and they just keel over and die, they are still scary and they are hard to get like cut through. They might not do a load of damage if you've got decent saves because they don't have much rend, but they are really hard to cut through. And yeah, he plays Pretenders, which is the three the 3 command abilities, which fuck that. I hate the fact that he can unleash hell 3 times or all out attack 3 times or all out defense. It's just like, and then also to add insult to injury, he's got like 6 CP. So like, why does he even need the fucking thing? But anyway, um, and yeah, he's 1 drop just like I am. So basically, our games are heavily decided on who wins the prio at the beginning because it really has a big impact because we both just roll and it does. Obviously, 1 drop's a massive thing in most games. The epitome is really strong. It's a double caster, re-rolling spells completely, so no worries about miscasting. Obviously, you can't add primals if you re-roll, but doesn't really. It's not that deep. And you can buff that thing up to be really scary. Like it can really hit you really hard. I was lucky in the game we played because I actually faced him at the tournament, and he failed a 4-inch, a 6-inch. He failed a 6-inch charge twice, so I didn't actually have to deal with it hitting me. It was fully buffed up and horrifically terrifying, and he didn't charge me, so I got quite lucky there. And then Shalaxi again, really hard to kill. Just -1 to hit and wound. Really hard to actually get down, and she can whittle you down, and she can lock you up. Like especially against me with my Varangard, I just get locked into combat with her, and I just can't get out unless I fight her on my own terms. Almost impossible to kill. And then Sigvald again, Chadvold, the man himself, really just hurts. Tanky, got the ward, and if he charges you, he will just blast you. And he's a really good piece at the moment because he ignores ward saves, so he can actually kill Gotrek feasibly. Because he will turn off your wards and then Gotrek just kills over. So that's good. Bliss Barbs, he can use them as screens because they just are there to kind of die and just do some chip damage. And the Bliss Barb, he's got the Bliss Barb Archers and then the Bliss Barb Seekers, which are the horse variants of the Archers. And they give you, if they hit you, you get -1 to save. So he will stack minuses to save, which is just that, and then he'll put rend on top of it. So what would usually put in -1 is now -2, and it's actually really potent if you're getting shot by a lot of Bliss Barb shots and you're -2 instead of -1. Demonet's just for battle line to hold points, and the Visage, which makes you fight last if it does any mortals to you. It's not too scary against me because I ward them off, but you know, it is a good addition, and it does do its part. So all in all, his army is just really well rounded, and it's very fast. So I've had very bad games against it, and I've had games where I've crushed him. Like our game, like usually against an army like mine, it goes just one of two ways. But Ben is actually really good. We all have a really tough time playing against him, like in just a group scenario. And usually his games are always very close, which is why he's best in bracket for 2 wins, because he probably still scored really well because he does know what he's doing. So yeah, that's pretty much it about the list. I hate playing against it. I really don't like playing against it. I've completely forgotten about like the main thing as well is depravity is horrific and I hate it. Just I'm trying to do something. I'm like, right, I've picked up 30 dice to roll my wounds. He's like, would you like a hit? And I'm like, and then I put all my dice down and I think, do I want to hit or do I want to take mortal wounds? And I sit there for about 5 minutes figuring out what's the right play. And then I go.
Do you want to walk us through the depravity mechanic? Just to explain what it is for those who don't know.
Yeah, can do. So basically, he gets it 6 times in a battle round, and basically whenever you do anything, so if you make a hit roll, a wound roll, or a save roll, he can offer you a 6, which basically means obviously you're going to hit on the 6, you're going to wound on the 6, or you're going to save the attack. He offers you that dice. And if you say yes and you take the 6, he'll get D6 depravity points, which go on a little table, which I'll talk about afterwards. And if you say no, I don't want the 6, then your unit will take D3 mortal wounds. And a unit can only be given this once per phase. So let's say my unit of Varangard, they will fight in the combat phase. He can give me a 6. And then he attacks me in the combat phase and I roll a save. I think he can also give me a 6. I'm not too sure though. But yeah, it's just a very aggressive ability, and if you don't have ward saves like I do, you can start to just lose models left, right, and center. And yeah, it's a pain in the ass to play against. And basically, the depravity points work. You get 12. Your entire army is -1 to hit. You get 24 depravity. You get exploding 6s, so it's 1 mortal in addition to any other hit. And when you get to 36, your entire army gets
5 ward.
Yeah,
a 5-up ward. That's the one. Yeah, 5-up ward. So it's a potent army.
Yeah, as you say, with Salaxi, you're -2 to hit. Although they'll go to -1, it means all out attack doesn't mean anything now.
Yeah,
you're just staying at -1, and you still get your -1 to wound anyway. Which tends to be the Slaneshi way, is elongate the battle and impossible to kill. A play I was looking at when because I was thinking of going across the Slanesh before I decided actually I'd like to get off on blood. I don't need the sex.
Horny bastards.
Is that, you know what? Every time I say that to most Slanesh players, I say, Slanesh isn't just all about sex, and it's like, yeah, but it's so much worse when you just take like all the other stuff. You understand that's worse than sex, right? Like skin peeling, cannibalism. That's all worse.
That's part of the sex for them.
But yeah, so the great Demonet's gonna be great for you. In one round, you can pick 2 units, and the amount of wounds you do to them gives you depravity points. And Demonets are something you can really buff up quite a lot, get a lot of wounds on there for just with volume of attacks. So that's a useful Demonets. I'm not sure if that's how Ben was doing it, but that's another way of using Demonets as not just screens, but other things to kind of pump up that score. So you're -1 to hit across the board, and your army is sticking around. Like 5s to wounds a lot will go on to 5 to wounds or 4s to wounds. It is not fun.
No, the demonettes are mostly just used as a screen and just an objective holder. Because it's the euphoric killers. So in the combat phase he
Yeah,
picks, it's
that's
in
the
his
one.
combat phase he picks a unit, and then however many wounds it does. I think it's up to a maximum of 12 though, so I don't think he go any higher than that. He gets
Okay.
depravity points. So in our game he killed my fiends because they're 6 up saves, 12 wounds, so that's just a free 12 depravity. I believe it is up to a maximum of 12. So yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Ben, any thoughts on Slanesh?
Yeah, I played a Slaanesh army at the weekend, and I mean, I think Bean, you've covered pretty much everything which needs to be said. I'd just like to say about the dice thing, though, that is a mini game in itself because the opponent which I was playing with, it was always like on my attacks and stuff, and I'd be mentally preparing, right, okay, this, and when you've got like quite a techie army like Nighthorn, I'd be like ready, and I'd have all the handfuls of like loads of dice, and he'd be like, "Would you like a dice?" And it just throws your
Yeah,
think
it
out.
really does.
It,
It
it,
really throws you.
it jams your momentum, and you're like, "Oh, what was I doing?" I mean, a lot of the time I was like, "No, I'll take the wounds. I'm not giving you that kind of stuff." And basically, I just took the wounds most of the
Yeah.
time. But it just if you time it right, so hopefully Ben's got this nailed to offer it at the peak of when someone's just about to roll,
Yeah.
so then they lose the
Yeah.
thread and perhaps forget everything else which is going on. I like that mechanic. I think it's brilliant because you could just deliver it. Would you like a dose?
It is literally a mind game, and Ben himself is really good at mind games. So he really likes to make you believe that what you've done is like the wrong thing. So like in our game, I used Bellicor to turn off his Shalaxi, and in which case it meant his epitome could try and charge me. It didn't make the charge, so it didn't matter. But he was like, "Thank you, you've made the wrong decision," and I'm like, "I haven't, but you're making me feel like I have." So it's like a mind game in itself. But the other thing as well, to touch on what you were saying, is it's like I'll also stop and I'll go, right, how many depravities do you have? And he'll tell me, and I'll go, okay, so if you roll a d6, on average, you're going to get this much. So then you're going to go to this many points, and then you'll have, will you reach your next buff threshold? And if you're not going to, then is there another way during this phase that you'll also reach your buff threshold? If you've got your euphoric killers, have I got something else to worry about? So I go to like all these different places that are going to give him more depravity, and it really throws me off. And it really does. It's a difficult mechanic to deal with. It really is.
Especially, I mean, you play against Ben, but a stranger,
Yeah.
you're a bit like, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's
bet that
difficult.
all your Slanesh players are weird. Get into the
Yeah,
mind.
weirdos.
Right. But you know what? The one thing I think I actually really enjoy about the game in general is you need to feel a part of your army. You need to really enjoy
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Hey, that's what it's about, ain't it? And you can have those little games going along. Hey, ain't much more Slanesh than that. So yeah,
Yeah.
great list. Great guy. You're absolutely right. And yeah. Oh, worth touching on Sigvald because you mentioned the charge again. If you don't know, Sigvald has an attack of 5 or equal to his charge roll, so you could have up to 12 attacks. Is there any way of him getting 3d6 charge?
No, I don't think so. There's a spell, but I think that only Shalaxi can get it, as far as I remember. He did have a spell once that let him took a 3d6 charge. I
I
think no,
think there
maybe it
is a
wasn't a
way
spell.
with a war shrine, but you wouldn't take a war shrine in a Slanesh list.
See, I was talking to this about Ben. I'm not sure if it's a Slaves of Darkness Celeste marked unit, or if you can add a War Shrine in and give Sigvald the
Yeah,
3d6 charge. I'd
it's
have
just
to check.
Slanesh. It's a Slanesh
Okay, yeah,
mark, so
maybe
I
it does
think you
work. Maybe it does work then.
think you
Yeah,
can do it. But that's worth checking.
yeah,
But yeah, so up to 12, and you're ignoring wards. I think it's 2s and 3s. He hits on with Ren 2. A lot of
yeah,
output on our little pretty boy there.
yeah.
Yeah, so moving in to number 3, Benjamin Hall, who we
It's
can't
me.
know as being. Despite what we said before, you know what? Do you want to walk us through your list about what you took and like what a horrible individual you are for taking 12?
Yeah, so I'm scum of the earth for taking 12 Varangard. And I accept that fully. Yeah, my list is pretty straightforward. Honestly, there's not a lot to really to say. It's really transparent. I've got Better Core, so I can turn off a unit once per game on a 3-up in every phase. I've got 2 Sorcerer Lords, both marked Zinch, so that means they've got a spell called Warp Reality, so they can pick another Zinch marked unit, or themselves. They can actually throw themselves as well. I did not know this until the tournament, but they can pick up another Zinch marked unit and throw it 9 inches away from them. So it just helps to get the Sorcerer Lords up the board, or if I need them in buff range, because everything is Holy 12 for me, I can get them a bit closer in, just in case I've charged really far up the board in my turn. I might be able to still get them in range, possibly. I've got Hoarfrost on one of them to give to my Varangard, and I'll talk that through in a second. And I've got Blizzard, which everyone knows what Blizzard is. Scary. And I've got an artifact, which means that once per game I can summon this little Chaos Familiar, and he'll cast a spell from the Lore of the Damned for me, which is really helpful. There's a battle tactic I can get from it, but there's also other stuff I can do with it that's a bit more techie. But it's really, again, still nothing crazy. You still know what it can do at all times. And then I've got 12 Varangard. I've got 6 Varangard marked Nurgle, which means they're -1 to wound in combat. And they've got ensorcelled weapons, which means they are 5 attacks each, -1 rend, 2 damage, 3s and 3s to hit and wound. And then my general. So when you're playing Knights of the Empty Throne, which is a sub-faction, if you don't have Archaon in your army, you can pick a unit of Varangard to be your general. And if you do, your Varangard rally on a 5-up is as long as it's issued by the general, which is the Varangard unit, which I put as the Nurgle marked boys, because obviously they're tankier, they'll live for longer, so they just made more sense to be the one giving the rally. Is there anything else to say? Oh, and they can fight twice, once per game. That's the other thing about Varangard. And because I'm Knights of the Empty Throne, everything that's mounted can run and charge, which is just the Varangard. So I can move 16 inches with them and still charge. Then I have the other 6 Varangard, which are Fell Spears, which are 3 attacks each, 3s and 3s, -2, 2. But because I've marked them Khorne, they get an extra attack when they charge. And the Fell Spears get +1 to rend and +1 to the damage. Or, sorry, +1 to rend and +1 to wound when they charge. So they like to be charging at all times. If they get locked up, I'm pretty screwed. 2 units of Corvus Cabal, which are just deep striking. And the Geminids of Ulgish, which are... I throw them at you. They've got like an effective 17-inch range, and you're... if I roll a 2-up in the hero phase, you don't get any commands for that turn on the unit that I pick. And I can pick as many as I like, as long as they're within an inch or if they've flown over something. So yeah, my army's very fast. It hits very hard, and you know what I'm doing at all times. There's nothing, I've got no tricks, and it's just really, really aggressive. I like to be in people's faces and like just hitting stuff. You have to really pick and choose your moment with them, but I find it incredibly fun and incredibly rewarding to play. If you make the right decisions, you're probably going to win, and if you make a mistake, you're going to lose, because your entire army will just crumble at your feet. I probably went a bit too much over my list there, but
No, not at all.
my experience of the army and the tournament was really fun. I had a great time. I had some really good games. As I was saying earlier, I had a game where I miscast 3 times in the hero phase. It is not good, and I needed all of those spells that I was trying to cast because I was really in a bad spot at that point. So it was a bit of an unfortunate one. But that being said, in my last game of the day, I landed an 18-inch charge to kill Nagash in 1 turn, to which my opponent very understandably just said, "I surrender," and we stopped playing. And then we swapped armies and played each other's army for a game. So
Cool.
we just had a
Very
bit of a
cool.
laugh. We just had a bit of a laugh. Yeah, I mean, I killed half his army in 1 turn, and obviously his zombies are nothing without Nagash. Nagash, really. So he just sort of was like, "There's no point. I'm not winning this game. It's not top table. I'm not going to scrape for points." So we just called it there. So that was probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever had happen to me. All at 1 tournament, miscasting 3 times in the hero phase and rolling an 18-inch charge. So I had 2 sides of the coin there, but it was great, and I love my list. I'm not completely content with the way I've done my spells. I'm still thinking of changing them, but I'm not 100% sure yet, because Blizzard has still really done some good things for me. But my other option is changing Blizzard to Demonic Speed and changing Be'lakor's spell to a Fight Last spell.
Oh, okay.
Because he gets quite far up the board, so I can use that quite late, like quite early on, and it's a good spell. And actually, it was Phil Marshall who suggested that to me. It was something I've been thinking about doing, but he also suggested it to me at the LGT. So yeah, but I'm not 100% sure on it yet. I'm still kind of just toying with stuff. I haven't really thought about it too much. So yeah, that's my list. If there's any questions you guys have for me, I
I've got
am here.
I've got lots of comments, but Ben, I'll let you go first. Have you got anything you'd like to talk about, or just slag off?
Yeah, if
No,
you want to
I've
shit
got
talk me,
nothing.
by all means.
No, I've got nothing to slag off. I think, as what you both said before, it's a very honest list. There's not really much traps there. You know what you're fighting, and yeah, it's pretty nasty. I did say I wanted a rematch, Bean, as much as you hate fighting Nighthorn, with my new list, so I can
Mhm.
perish again. I'll bring Jack. I'll bring my boy. All
No,
right.
I'm not coming then. I'm not coming.
Well, yeah, no, I think it's a really solid list, and it's you've proven that when you're in the tournament scene. So no, congrats, and it's
Thank you.
wicked. Yeah, been cheering through Six Varangard with Nurgle Mark. Oh, just. Oh.
Yeah.
And then anything which does mortal wounds, you got what, like a 4-up ward against it on them as well.
Yeah,
So it's
for
like,
war against mortals.
so
And
you
then they
survive most of the mortal wound bombs which are flying around the scene at the moment as well. No, it's
yeah,
great. No, I
yeah,
love it. It's a good list.
yeah.
For me, I spoke about it. Did you? I'm not sure if you did. You watch our list review we done when we went through your list a little while ago?
When was it for the LGT or was it for Woehammer?
No, it would have been Warhammer.
No.
It might have been the LGT. But prepare to blush. I think one of the best things about the list is not necessarily the Vanguard; it's your use of Be'lakor. Be'lakor got a lot of negative, and I was negative on as well because his effect turn off isn't that great. Like in broad Slaves of Darkness turns, if you've got Chaos Warriors and Chosen, you're trudging up the board slowly. Be'lakor turns something off because you're going with so much speed into it. When you need to be able to counterpunch, like as in as your opponent, you throw your Vanguard into me. I need to hit you as hard as possible, and I'm going to have a few big hitters, and you can go, no, you don't get that one, and it's like, all right, what do I do now? Whereas if you're slowly moving up the board with like Chaos Warriors, Chosen, you have time to think about set yourself up. Like I would put two Bloodthirsters out there. You can turn one off, that's fine, because the other one will go in and do work. And it's the speed of the army matched with Be'lakor being able to stop that counter punch, which I had when you trashed Muscaven. It was like that is a potent combination. So you have the synergy that goes throughout the list is so good. Yeah, I don't I don't enjoy playing Slaves of Darkness. I had a Slaves Army. I played something similar to Chaos Knights and Vanguard. I don't like playing honestly. I know what that sounds like, but I like my corn traps. I like my Skaven traps. That's just how I like to play. Um, but what you've got here is totally honest, but it's so well synergized with speed that it's very hard to kind of deal with. And also you have maps which kind of balance it out. My opinion is that this you should have maps that it's hard to play on. The game isn't to have the unbeatable army; it's to have the
Yep.
army that you can. Yeah, you got to be weak against something. The same when I played KO, I'm like, I might as well throw Bloodthirster and hope I get away with it. That's the game.
Yep.
But no, I have played this as this and against this, and yeah, it's horrible. It is
Yeah.
absolutely horrible to deal with. And congratulations on making a terrifying list, Ben.
Yeah, Pete, a quick question, because one of our lot was playing against Be'lakor in a Nurgle list. Do you ever use Be'lakor to shut down the double turn?
Yeah, well, that's a big part of Be'lakor is turning units off on the double. So it threatens an extra layer because they have another turn where if they take the turn, that unit's still going to be turned off. Like the biggest thing I can think about is I played at the one day at Savage Hammer, and I played not Nighthaunt, sorry, I played Soulblight, and I took first because I saw an opportunity to kill half their army, which I did. I charged up the board and killed like all of their skeletons, and then I turned off this other unit of 30 skeletons that was sitting behind it, and that was then they had to take the double because if they didn't, they were just going to lose. But the threat of me turning them off in combat and them just sending a unit in to just die was so terrifying to them that they actually just didn't do anything with the skeletons whatsoever. Like you could argue that he should have sent them into me and then banked on it, because otherwise there was no coming back for him. But he has so much like threat just in mind games of, okay, is this person going to throw the 3 up and stuff, that, and the double is where he's most potent, when they can turn off a unit for 2 turns in a row, because it's really strong.
Yeah, because I think when we last played, you shut down Reichner.
Yeah, I shut them, and that was for 2 turns as well.
Yeah, it was 2 turns. I mean, it was the wrong unit to shut down at the time because Reichner, I'm used to him just dying straight away, to be perfectly honest. I was thinking, oh, okay, that's fine. But if you're doing that on, let's say, someone's invested loads in like a screen of plague bearers and you're just mincing them away and they can't do anything about it, it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And once he's done his Bellicor tricks, you just use them as a beat stick after that then.
Yeah, objectives as well, because he counts as 10 because he's a monster. Oh, sorry, he counts as 5, not 10. Is it 5? It's 5, right? Yeah, he counts as 5 because he's a monster. He still has useful spells for me as well. Obviously, he's got demonic speed. He's still another avenue to cast spells. But I will send him in places to hit stuff if I find it that it's a safe bet. Obviously, when I primal miscast and blow himself up and then just get shot off, unfortunate. But most of the time, it's pretty okay. But yeah, he's very flexible, versatile, and he does have a lot of use. So I really do like him as a unit.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough to talk about how great Bean is.
Yeah, I'm the best player in the world. Yeah, I think so.
Well, with Slaves of Darkness, you are at the moment. Is that right? You're ranked. It's on
rank 1 on
BCP or
BCP for the UK, but that's, again, it's not that deep. It's
there's
just
no other
it's
countries.
Jack.
It's just
Jack
the
said,
UK.
yeah. Jack said it to me this morning, and I was like, oh, cool, because he's number 1 Crawl Boys as well. So
Yeah, the other 2 Core Boys players are devastated out here.
yeah.
I'm just throwing shade for the sake of throwing shade at the moment. Right, we're looking at Mira Berry, who brought Slamesh as well. So, Bean, you're probably in the best position to talk to us about this list. You played this one?
Yeah, I played it game 2. It's my only loss was to this list, and they came second, I think.
Slight brag, but yeah.
Yeah, it's my only loss. So,
do you want to talk us through what you had to contend with?
Yeah, definitely. So they were playing. Was it? I think it was Invaders. Yeah, it was Invaders.
Yeah.
And they basically, I think the way Invaders works, and again, I'm not 100% sure because I've only ever played against it once, is they have their own heroic actions, and they can also bounce heroic actions on a 2-up to other units. But and so their heroic action is you get to choose a different command trait from the book and give it to the unit, so you can shop and change your command traits, and then you can 2-up bounce it to another unit, and they'll get a command trait. So you can bounce it across non-unique units, which is really strong. But I think, at least from what I understood, was that the core principle of this army was that Keeper of Secrets is buffed up on drugs and it will kill you and you're just going to die. So Shalaxi obviously is really strong too, and again, as I've already spoken about, the epitome is terrifying as well, and with Hoarfrost even more so, because you can give they've got like 8 attacks, so you give that 3 rend, it's like 2 damage I think, and it's really strong. So that is like the main part of it. They've just got their battle line and some fiends to get around the board and kind of lock stuff up, I think, again from just experience and from playing against them. So my experience against them was actually they made a mistake and they put their Keeper of Secrets out and I killed it. In my turn. But as I've already said, this game was the one where I miscast 3 times in the hero phase, and I also didn't win a single priority roll. And even though I'd killed the bulk of their army and they only had a couple of units left, they just basically sent that Shalaxi around and just locked me up in combat forever. And I couldn't break out of it, and they just outscored me for the entire game because I just kept getting locked up. Because again, I was having to pull back to get away because they had locked me up in such an awkward way that I couldn't pile in to get everything in. So I'd have to pull back to then hope for the turn to then go back in, or at least get around the board. But it just never happened. I didn't get it. I didn't win prio. So, but they played a really, really good game. As I said to them, they felt very bad after the game. They were apologising a lot because of how unlucky I was getting and how lucky they felt they were getting. And I just said, people get lucky and they still lose.
Yeah.
You were given the opportunities you were given and you still capitalized on it and you did everything correctly to give you the win. And I was like, we're playing a dice game. It does happen like that sometimes. So I was like, I didn't want them to feel bad in the slightest because they played a really magnificent game. Obviously, I'm upset about my dice rolls, but they did play a magnificent game and they should be really proud. They came second as well, so they smashed it. And yeah, the list is really cool. Not one you see a lot because it's invaders. We always see pretenders and we see bliss barb spams and we see I'm going to give bloody million unleash hells and you're going to take 122 shots to the face. But this is a nice change, and it was and their army was beautiful as well. So yeah, it was a great game. I had a lot of fun, even though I miscast 3 times. It was still funny. And yeah, and the list is strong. Oh, and one other little addition I'd mention is the mask. Now the mask is really strong because he deep strikes it at the beginning of the game, 3 inches away from you, and then he will charge you and either he'll euphoric killers it, which, as we said before, if you euphoric killer something, you can however much damage you do is how many depravity you get, up to a maximum of 12 again, as long as I'm correct. So he can just take off a unit. Like a straggler unit that might be sitting on a point or like holding an objective or something just on the side that's got a low save, like I do, and then just get 12 depravity. Or if you deploy badly, they can pick off a little wizard, which we know in the meta at the moment is really big.
Yeah.
So I had to protect my wizards and I did my stuff so that they couldn't kill, but they just killed a unit of fiends because I had no other way of stopping it. And they got 12 depravity. It's a really nice addition, and I think the mask is really, really strong just to get you straight up to that 12 depravity and be -1 to hit, because it is a pain to deal with the -1 to hit. So yeah, really good list, really cool. I really liked it. I didn't see a lot of what the keeper could do because I killed it, but everything else did well. So yeah, it was. I mean, even at the end of the game, I think I had my Varangard alive. I had an entire unit of Varangard still left, but they couldn't do anything because I was just locked up. And all my wizards were dead because they killed themselves. So yeah. Yeah, it was a good game. I had a lot of fun. Not bitter at all. I'm so content with it.
Yeah, it's really good. I think the Fiends have +1 to hit and wound as well.
You're -1 to hit and wound against them.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. Yeah, so yeah, -1 to hit and wound. So there's a lot of sticking around through adjusting your dice rolls. The mask is great. Has some, I think, give themselves extra 3 attacks, or you pick the stance they're in.
Yeah. So they go from 5 to 8.
Yeah, and the big talk when the book came out was the weaponization of the Keeper of Secrets went from being you don't really need to you can really pump this out, and even when they nerfed it, it is still a demon. Well, of course it's a demon, but it's still a hell of a thing to be dealing with. And as you say, we can talk about luck all we want. Luck doesn't get you second in a tournament. Like, I've had lucky dice rolls and came bottom. It's not that. It's about how you use that luck and what you're doing between the times you had luck, basically. She clearly had a good list. Clearly played it very, very well. And yeah, like miscasts happen, but that's miscasts. What are your thoughts, Ben?
I mean, I think Bean's pretty much covered it, but one thing I meant to mention about this army and Big Ben's army, they're beautifully painted. I do like people which paint Slaanesh really torture their souls to get them as good as they are. Mirrors, they were just this hot pink, like neon pink. It was beautiful.
It was lovely to look at, yeah.
Yeah, and Big Ben's as well was just beautiful with the purple shades, and yeah, just really lovely armies to look at. I was like, damn. I think that's the only thing I can add, just how good they looked.
Lovely models as well. And Mirror also did a really cool conversion with the Keeper of Secrets. Not Keeper of Secrets, sorry, Shalaxi. Shalaxi was that big spider, like with the spear. Looked really awesome. Yeah. So she did a great job with that.
Yeah, beautiful army. Great player. So she came, third or mostly fourth. Either way, because Orpheus came second with a Nurgle, of all things. Ben, you are our resident Nurgle lover.
What are you going to say, expert? Then I'm like, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, this is a great list, and they played it incredibly well. They've got 2 feculent Narmors. They can summon, and I can't quite remember whether Horticulus brings another one. So there's actually 3 trees on there for summoning. They've got the Nurglings at the back for appearing and summoning, and basically I think the objective was to get as many great and clean ones on the board as possible, and my understanding is they did that quite a lot. So and having those on the board are just horrible to deal with. They've got a real combination of like the Blobe Rot Spawn and Demon Spew, the Maggot Lords, which are both fantastic. Out of the three of them, what's interesting is it's like a demon list, and they've chosen the two which aren't necessarily the one which synchronize as well with the demons, because I can't remember the name of the other one. They're like the ones in charge of Nurglings, but they've chosen two really good Maggoth Lords. The Glock in there for deep striking, and I think, Bean, you were saying that they were doing that, or I can't remember whether it was Bean or Mike. You said about there's new
tactic,
new
Mike,
battle tactics for both mortals and demons. So you're looking at 4 points based on having mortals and demons. Beast and Nurgle, they've got retreat and charge, and then to top things off, the real icing on the cake is a Rotmire Creed, which is spreading disease. Not just the unit it hits, but any units within 3 inches of it, I believe. So it spreads like wildfire. Is it 3 or 6? I can't quite remember the details, but really a really good list, and it performed incredibly well on the day. What I meant by disease was hit rolls of 6s gives a disease point up to a maximum of 7 points. At the end of the turn, you roll those 7 dice if you've maxed out, and every 4-up's a mortal wound. So that Rotmire Creed hitting a unit, then it's spreading to another. If they've got lots of 6s in a unit of 10, that's 20 attacks, combined with whatever hits them in combat. There's potential to spread a lot, and they've got Blobe Rot Spawn at the top, spreading Gift of Disease as well. So, brilliant list, really. Yeah, and then you look at the list and you're completely forgetting that there's potentially 2 great and clean ones on the board as well, which is the stuff of nightmares. So fantastic. Love it. Makes me want to go down the demon routes as well and get some Beast of Nurgles. I haven't got any of those yet. The retreat and charge, they're silly things, but what a brilliant army. That's my take. Bean, any thoughts? And
No, I'm not too versed on Nurgle, unfortunately. I took a little bit of interest into the Pusgoyles, as I think I told you, but other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of knowledge. I just know about the sort of the stacking buffs through or not stacking, but the changing buffs throughout the turns and whatnot. But I think, obviously, I know we don't talk too much about the players, but Orpheus was a great champ. He was really lovely to talk to when I did see him. He's very young as well, and he's absolutely smashing tournaments. This is, I think he said it was his second 2-dayer, or like maybe his third, and he's done pretty well at other tournaments. So honestly, he's absolutely smashing it, and he's so sweet. It was lovely to see him having a great time, having some good games. It was enjoyable to watch. I was really happy to have met him. And yeah, it was, and it's cool, and his army as well. Just like he beat both Peter and Jack, 2 of the people that I came to the tournament with. And when Jack was losing at the beginning, we were like, oh god. And then Peter also lost. We were like, okay, this kid's the real deal. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, and seeing 2 great unclean ones on a board, or like deep TPing it in 9 inches away, and then landing the 9-inch charge, which he did to Jack, and just blasting through his entire army was brilliant. It was great.
Yeah, the Orpheus is a future national captain. Like, put it on your calendars now. Like, absolutely. Great list. As you say, like, you have an extra 800 points of great unclean ones to deal with in this.
Yeah.
But that's it. Nurgle are in a weird place at the moment. I think they are one of the best designed armies. I think everything about the book, the Word of Disease, the summoning, the models, it's really, really, it really kind of put down the level of quality that we should expect from 3.0, because that was like one of the first books to come out, or at least that was the book that came out that was like, wow, now this is where we want Age of Sigmar to go.
Yes, cool.
And
they completely reinvented the Nurgle army. Before it was just stupid flying across the board, and they were like, no, they're slow and tough and slowly creeping their way up. But some of these things aren't slow though. No, some of them aren't slow at all.
Yeah, well, the Glockin will disappear.
Yeah.
It's great. Glocker's got a lot of play on it. We're not here to go through each of the lists. In fact, if you do want to like a breakdown of the list, Paul and Jason regularly do the Rusty Hammer. If you're watching this, and they go through list reviews and they'll talk about it a bit more in depth here. But needless to say, great list, great player, definitely deserves the silver medal.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our last, the actual champion of the Woehammer GT, James Linford. He is one of our guys. Shockingly, the live from the bottom half, or more importantly, Rusty Nukes, knows a champion, and we have one in our group. I've never said it was his face, but he's a nice guy, and not.
Yeah, he's lovely.
Yeah, he is super lovely.
James is lovely. Yeah, he's really nice.
We could do it more people, not more people like on top tables. Everyone played. I've not had many bad interactions there.
Yeah.
But super sweet, super sound guy. Which you need to be if you're bringing a KO army, and you need to be if you're bringing a KO army with Gotrek Gunners. Before I go into a talk about it, would anyone like to talk about this KO list?
I mean, it's Thunderers, and for that reason, I will abstain from being salty because I'm very weak to shooting, and the Woehammer GT, the first one I played against, I was 2-1. I was like, cool, I'm gonna take this draw. I'm gonna go 3-2, 4-1, and like something, and then I come up against Owen Jackson, and he's playing the OG before it got nerfed Thunderer list, and I just got shot off the board in one turn, and I was like, well, I can't play the game now. But really strong, really potent. Really, really good list, and obviously the addition of Gotrek is really interesting. So yeah, I'll throw that over to you, Mike, because I think you had some interesting takes on Gotrek.
Yeah, for me, this is essentially your typical shooting KO list. There's nothing particularly innovative in that part of the list. The innovation here is the inclusion of Gotrek, who gives you so much power on the floor. If everything else is in the sky, Gotrek's on the floor. People don't want to charge him, people don't want to fight him. He can sit on objective, and that's your objective. Now, KO were given their battle tactics because they couldn't sit on objectives. That problem James has solved by putting Gotrek in there. Because I saw the week before this tournament, I went to see him and Kieran play a game, and Gotrek made an 11-inch charge. But you're never gonna. That's rare, all right. That's at least like a 30. You have a low chance of rolling that charge. But when it's Gotrek at the other side of it, you're still like, calm down, sit back, and just see what happens here.
Yeah.
So if you don't know Gotrek, basically, I think he's got 6 attacks, 8 attacks, six attacks, threes, -2, 3 damage. 6 is the hit, or D6 mortal wounds in addition.
Yeah.
So he's got the output. At the end of the combat phase, if he is still in combat, he gets to go again. He just keeps on killing stuff. He himself is a 4-up save with 3-up ward. All damage gets taken down to 1. No matter what you do, is 1 damage. So he is a beast on the field. Bean, do you want to jump in?
He also has 4 rerolls, just as a.
Full reroll. So you find a 2-up save, just keep rolling to find 6s. Now, he appears in a lot of lists. A lot of times where he does, he kind of just builds on what is already there. Like people will take him, you've got to fight Stormcasters, you put Gotrek for even more fightiness. What the uniqueness is here is that he completely covers combat for the KO army. The rest can sit back, they can shoot, while Gotrek goes deal with that. You want to get rid of Gotrek, you have to really commit to being able to get rid of him. If you really commit, do you know what you're not committing to? The things that are shooting you off the board. It's a great list. He will also say this is not a list you would normally bring to a casual game because it is just difficult to deal with. Like I played a
any list with Gotrek you don't bring to a casual game. I think.
I think that I know someone who brought Gotrek to a casual game, who was a horrible individual with his Stormcast. But
I played against a Stormcast with Gotrek at the local, and I sent 10 Chosen and 10 Knights into him and didn't kill him. So
yeah, he is a force of nature. But that's what the innovationist list is, and it works really well. James knows it back to front. It's important to know. It's not just important to know when to commit go check. It's also know when not to commit go check. When he's doing his job by just keeping people away from a part of the map, and he has that down. Then his general KO play is really strong. Like just in general, great play, deserved the win. Nice guy. Very jealous, but there we go. Any thoughts on this before we go on to the other noble lists?
Yeah. I mean, I've played Linford with the Go Trek before, and he's fine-tuned his list. And people moan about Go Trek, but I think he's perfectly costed for what he does. The movement. I mean, he's not immortal, but he's there. He's a deterrent. It's 480 points. He's not invincible, but he's hard to kill. But completely complementary. It's a brilliant list with everything. No, James. I mean, if I've lost to James pretty much every time I played him, actually. And you never walk away feeling like, oh, it's always he's a good player and a good guy, and I don't mind losing to him. So I imagine everyone which lost to him walked away feeling like that.
Yeah. I think as well. I just say like about Gotrek as well is that he is just like this piece that has so much threat on one part of the board, but that is just it. He costs that many points to be that big of a threat. And like in a lot of scenarios, you can try and dance around him. Obviously, it might be difficult against an army that's also shooting you, but it's also the aspect that you can just go and sit on the other points and just ignore him and hope that you can just try and outscore. So there are ways to play around him, which I think even though he is a tough nut to crack, it's fine. I think it's fair. I couldn't say when I play against Gotrek, I'm like, right, I know how to deal with him. I just have to do it well, and I'll probably be okay-ish. It's just obviously they may also do things. So it's a really competitive game when you're coming up against someone who knows how to use Gotrek well. So yeah, I think he's a really cool unit. And I think even though he is a pain in the ass, I don't think he's OP or unbalanced.
No. You pay a heavy cost, and it's a cost that if you get it wrong, you're punished for it. If Sigvald gets into and Son has an artifact you don't know about, you put him on the wrong side of the map, or like Ben, like you said, you're baited into putting into the wrong side of the map by a fast moving army, then slods off to the other side, and he's doing his 4-inch walk across the map.
I just resorted to just throwing all my units, my Reapers in, and just thought, I'm going to do it this way. And it's he's weak against high volume of attacks. It really is that simple. I slapped what's it called, Hoarfrost, and got it, and just
and I mean the tournament as well. Jack, one of the people I went with, he played against, and he plays Crawlboy, so obviously we're going to get onto his list. But Gobsprat, there's a spell in there, spell law, where you can turn off wards, and he managed to do it, and he managed to kill one. So
I've killed him acoustically with Plague Sensor Bearers. Just threw him in 50 attacks. Someone's got to go through eventually. But yeah, it comes down to the quality player, and we did the top 3 players here. It was a great tournament, and we saw some high quality players like come away with the top 3. It's 10:30. It's been a long day. But that's what we saw here. So that brings us to like the end of the bracket lists. As I say, the top 3 is some great quality list there.